This minimalist wants more. Enough-ism is the journey, a path to peace and joy. The world is full of distractions. Through mindfulness, we can find solace. You are enough with what you are and what you have right now, but so often we forget in our pursuit of more. So let us pause, be fully present, and appreciate the good in our lives and the good yet to come. Together, we can find Enough-ism. I'm your host, Reverend Yugen Bond, a retired material girl, author of Enough-ism, This Minimalist Wants More, a journalist, editor, and former professor and lecturer. This show explores mindfulness, meditation, and minimalism through conversations with people around the world about their journey towards Enough-ism. For more, visit IamEnough-ism.com. Enjoy the show. How do you meditate? I want to give you some tips and tricks, a blueprint, if you will, that you can incorporate into your meditation practice. The first thing I'm going to do when you meditate is to find a quiet space. Now, this, of course, may be challenging. And if you don't have a quiet space, this can actually work to your advantage. You'll hear the phrase all the time, be present, quiet your mind. What does that mean? It can be quite challenging to do that, even for advanced meditators. One way to meditate is to essentially sit still and quiet. Use the sounds and use the sensations around you to stay present. So, for example, if you're sitting in a chair, for example, with your eyes closed, if you're finding it challenging to quiet your mind or to find stillness or to enter that deeper state of oneness, one thing you can do is pay attention to the sensations in your space. So whether that's the sensation of your body touching the chair or your feet touching the floor, paying attention to the sounds in the room, whether that's the air conditioning, the birds, the people in another room or in another building. That can be a way to kind of ground you and kind of connect you into the present moment, because you're essentially paying attention to your sensory experience during that time. Another way to meditate is to focus not so much on quieting your mind, but more on an intention. And that intention can be very simple. It can be something like, what kind of emotion do I wish to experience right now in this moment through this meditation practice? Maybe, for example, this intention is, I wish to let go. Maybe this intention is, I wish to feel grounded. Maybe this intention is, I wish to feel more connected to myself. Maybe this intention is, I wish to be forward facing and think less about the past and think more about the future and what the future holds for me. There are all kinds of intentions you can set for yourself, and some of those may click for you more than others. But if you go into it with an intention, you can always come back to that intention if you find your mind wandering. The other thing you can do, which you may have heard about before, is focusing on your breath. But again, what does that mean? It can be challenging. So focusing on your breath can obviously mean thinking about your breath as it goes in and out, but you can also go deeper with that. So for example, thinking about your breath and the amazement of breath. So for example, how everyone is breathing. Everyone who is alive is breathing. How your breath has carried you through the very first moment of your life, and how your breath will carry you through all the way until you finally take your last breath one day. You can think about your breath as a constant in your life. You can think about your breath as something that is unwavering and steady. And when you start kind of going down those thought patterns, eventually this will help you enter a deeper state of meditation. Another thing you can try to meditate once you're settled into your space and breathing and you have your eyes closed is focus on the area of your forehead, essentially in between your eyes, your third eye. Just kind of focus on the physical sensations that you may feel there. You may feel pressure. And this is not painful pressure at all. It's just more of like a tingling or sensations. And if you just kind of start focusing on that area, or you could focus on other areas of your body too. For example, maybe you want to focus on your heart. Focus on what's going on there, how it feels. Is there pressure? Is there heaviness? Do you wish that there was more lightness in your heart? And maybe you wish to do a meditation where your only intention is, I feel heaviness in my heart, and I want this heaviness to lift. And I want to feel expansiveness in my heart. And that can be your intention, is just focusing on that sensation and feeling your heart feel lighter over time. You can also do this with chronic pain. So for example, if your knee or your hip or your legs or whatever it is in your body is giving you agony and anxiety and frustration, perhaps the intention of your meditation is solely to feel less pressure or less pain, or to heal this one area of your body. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated. You don't have to do anything. The meditation doesn't have to be something where you're trying to get the meditation to work or do a certain thing or do something the right way. It can be very simple. I wish to heal. I wish to heal my heart or this part of my body. I wish to heal past trauma, whatever it is. And then when you go into it with that intention, and you simply just let the meditation do its thing. And what will happen when you do this is essentially you'll start to feel something happening in your body, and it's going to be different for everyone. So you may see colors come over your eyes. You may see waves of energy kind of also going over your eyes, or you might feel a tingling or a warmth. You also might feel nothing at all. And that's okay too. There's no right or wrong. And sometimes when you practice meditation, one thing that frustrated me early on is I would meditate and I would have my intention and I would feel something. I would feel that heaviness lifting. I would feel that chronic pain dissipating. The next time I would meditate, I would want the same thing to happen again and nothing would happen. And you start to let go sometimes, and it's essentially a practice, but you start to go into it saying, you know what, I can't have any expectations because this meditation is going to be whatever it's going to be, and that's okay. And there might be meditations that you do where you don't necessarily feel anything during the meditation, but maybe an hour later, or maybe later that day, you notice a sense of calmness. And it's hard to explain necessarily, in words, but the fact of the matter is, if you kind of keep doing it and you keep practicing it, what happens is you'll be able to get into those meditative states easier because you'll have your kind of go-tos. So, okay, I have my 3 or 4 intentions that I always set for myself, and I want to go in and just kind of tap into one of those because they're familiar to me. And a lot of meditation is kind of about finding what's familiar and what works for you. I went to a yoga retreat a couple of years ago. We would meditate for hours every single day, and the meditations were always the same. It was always everything in the same order. You would say the same things at the same time. They would have bells and different kind of auditory sensations. And it was the exact same thing every day. And they would explain why they did that. And one of the reasons why, it's familiar. So if you're meditating and you know exactly what to expect, it makes it easier because your mind is kind of following more of like a habitual pattern. So that's something you can also do for yourself when you meditate. So for example, if you go to a meditation store or a metaphysics store, they have things that they sell called altar bells. It's just a little tiny bell, and you can ring it at the beginning of your session. You can ring it at the end. And what that does is it just kind of tells your brain, okay, this meditation has started, this meditation has ended. So if you can find different kind of habitual things to incorporate while you're meditating, maybe you always sit in the same chair, maybe you have a meditation shawl, like a scarf that you kind of wrap around your shoulders, just kind of creating a ritual for yourself. Think about it kind of like church bells in a way, right? When a church service starts, bells ring, and when it ends, bells ring. Kind of like bookends the service, essentially. So these are all some basic tips that you can incorporate. And I think one of the most important key takeaways is there are a lot of variations on meditation techniques. And of course, you can always, find a meditation group, find a teacher, and, kind of like find communities of people. I personally find guided meditations as well to be very helpful. I offer guided meditations, for example, on my podcast, but you can always go on YouTube or Spotify and find a guided meditation. And that's a very, very good way to also kind of quiet your mind and find peace. Because when you're doing a guided meditation or someone is kind of literally speaking you through and offering visualizations and telling you what you're seeing visually in your mind's eye or what to focus on, it takes all the work out of it because someone else is kind of giving you instructions. So, and that's something you can do no matter where you are in your meditation practice. I actually have on my YouTube channel, I have a playlist and I have a lot of guided meditations that just work really well for me. I'm going to drop that in the show notes. So if you don't know where to start, those are some really good ones. There's one, for example, that I love. It's from the University of Metaphysical Sciences. It's just one that I happened to come across that I thought was really, really incredible. And there's another one there. There's a YouTuber. Her name is Teal Swan, and she does some really, really incredible guided meditations. They're all just visualizations, and they're relatively simple to follow along with, but they really helped me kind of just establish a meditation practice. So I'll drop that link in the show notes if you want to follow along with those. And of course, you're welcome to also continue listening to this podcast. I have a bunch of guided meditations that I do as well. And they're just very, very visual. So essentially, you're just kind of following along with a story or, whatever. You're on the beach or you're floating up on the cosmos. And it's just a way to kind of help people detach from your physical realm and kind of just play, essentially, and enter different realms and kind of separate yourself out from the mundane nature of life. So I really enjoy it. And I write all of those from scratch. And some of them I just do off the cuff. I just kind of have a visualization. I just kind of go with it. And I just kind of record it and just see what comes up for me as I'm doing it. So I really enjoy it. So anyway, I hope you find a lot of benefits from this show. And I will do more episodes like this, kind of how-tos and kind of mindfulness 101s. And they're meant for everybody from all walks of life, no matter who you are. Just kind of check in with yourself and hopefully find some new techniques. So I am Reverend Yugen Bond. I am host of the Enough-ism podcast. I am a journalist and a content director and a former professor and lecturer, and writing and journalism and meditation and mindfulness and all of that are things that I'm very passionate about. So this podcast talks about all of those, and I hope you find value in it. So thank you so much for listening. I will see you on the flip side. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Congratulations, you've reached the end of the Enough-ism podcast. Show some love if you'd like by subscribing and leaving a review. If you wish to support the show, you can download the Enough-ism ebook, now available on Amazon, by visiting IamEnough-ism.com. Make a Venmo donation if you'd like at Enough-ism. Questions or comments? Want to be a guest on the show? Drop me a note at enough-ismpodcast@gmail.com. I'm Reverend Yugen Bond. Remember, we are all enough just the way we are. See you next time.